Welcome back ladies and gents. Today we're going to explain the anime series Unlimited Psychic Squad. There are spoilers ahead. In an unnamed country, Hyobu surrenders to the military and is sent to a special ESPA prison. On his arrival, Yobo meets Andy, an ESPA prisoner who doesn't have any apparent powers. After creating a commotion, both are sent to confinement, where Hyobu offers Andy a chance to join his side, which he accepts. Upon helping him escape the prison at mealtime, the cook drugs Yobu's stew, but gives it to Andy instead. During a brawl with another prisoner and he's unable to fight back due to the drug's effect, he gets punched in the stomach repeatedly and collapses. Andy wakes up in a surgery room outside the prison and is freed by Hyobu, who explains to him that the present is being used as a site for illegal ESPA experiments. Together they've reached the place where a young ESPA child Yujidai is being held. The prison warden sends a monster created by fusing several ESPA body parts to attack them, but it ends up being destroyed when Hyobu deactivates his own limiter, unlocking his true power. In the end, Hyobu, Andy and Yujiri are picked up by other members of Pandra and Andy is welcomed aboard their base of operations, the ocean liner Catastrophe. However, Andy is shown as a spy in to infiltrate the organization as he makes contact with his superiors. A week has passed since USI investigator Andy has boarded Pandra's ship Catastrophe. The crew learns of his ability to negate all ESP abilities, and the ESP users near him may produce symptoms such as headaches, dizziness or toothaches. Maggie is suspicious of Andy due to issues with his past, even more so that they can't read his mind. With ESP, Pandra is to make a trade smuggling weapons with a certain mafia boss Carlo, who is Yobu's friend from World War II. Yobu is actually very old, but he uses his ESP abilities to regenerate himself to keep his youth. Shortly after arriving, Pandra is attacked by the mafia they were going to trade with. Despite this, Yobu insists on visiting Carlo. He gives orders to Andy to shoot Carlo if he gives the signal, but upon giving the signal he's unable to shoot. Having already calculated this, Yobu uncovered his disguised clones and kills Carlo, who's actually a robotic decoy. Carlo is actually a very high-level ESPA, but he's no match for Yobu, who slaughters him instantly. Yobu gives Andy a limiter to decrease the effect of his abilities to negate ESP, which makes him susceptible to having his mind read. Magi tells Yujiri to read Andy's mind, but Yuji informs Magi that she won't read Andy's mind unless Yobu specifically orders her to. Meanwhile, Minamoto and Sakeki arrive at the Principality of Monarch. They attend a party held by the Princess of Monarch Sophie Grace for expert organizations from several countries, where they spot Hyobu and some members of Pandra. After being confronted by the duo, Hyobu and his party flee undetected, and some time later it's revealed that Sophie is also missing. Sakeki and Minamoto inquired the authorities and tried to access the contents of a USB flash drive Sakeki snatched from Hyobu's pocket. Sophie is seen under custody of Pandra, but it's revealed that it's part of their plan to protect the princess from an assassination plot by Yujiri's request. As Sophie befriends Yuji and decides to take her for a walk around the city while escorted by Andy, Yobu makes use of mass hypnosis to have all women in the country seen by all around her as the princess, while feeding their enemies with false info about her whereabouts to lure them into a trap. Meanwhile, Sophie and Yujidai come at an abandoned orphanage, where the princess remembers that she has met her before as one of the orphans being raised there before disappearing mysteriously. They're found by the ringleader behind the assassination plot, who wants to get rid of her because of her ESPA protecting policy, but Minamoto, having previously deduced the enemy's identity upon analyzing the files, brings the police with him. Soon after, the criminal shoots at Sophie, but she's protected by Andy, who takes the hit on his shoulder, and Hyobu disarms him before he's arrested. Sophie offers herself to take care of Yuji, but she'd rather keep living with Hyobu and the others instead, and bids farewell to her as the Catastrophe approaches the coast of Japan, and he's searching the ship under his superior order when it's attacked by the members of Barbel, who send the children to infiltrate him. Hyobu confronts Kaoru by himself, while Andy is detained by Aoi and Shiho, who steal the ship's master key from Momotaro and use it to hack the Catastrophe's main computer. Once regrouped, the members of Pandra start a counter-attack, with Andy subduing Fujiko with his second ESPA power, the ability to neutralize temporarily the powers of someone he touches, and destroying the hack's control, while the rest of the group distracts the children in a last effort to capture the Catastrophe. Kaoru, Aoi and Shiho combine their powers with their Limiter's triple boost feature to restrain it, but they're repelled by Hyobu when he unlocks his own Limiter, giving them the chance to escape. As Minamoto comforts the girls who are inconsolable for letting Kyobu escape, he ponders with Fujiko about an ominous precognition they learned regarding him with the catastrophe undergoing repairs after their clash with the children. Andy is tasked by Magi, Momiji and Yo to accompany Yuji as they're summoned back. Meanwhile, Kyobu infiltrates Obama Medical Facility to perform some exams on his body in secret while taking Yujiri to an amusement park, and he's approached by Minamoto and Fujiko, who revealed to him that they know he's a spy under the U.S. government infiltrated on Pandora, and asked for his cooperation to apprehend him. As Sakeka keeps watching Yujiri, who's exposed as an Espa after she uses her powers to help a lost boy, feeling herself rejected by those around her, a desperate Yokodai loses control over her powers, igniting a disastrous hypnotic trance that's contained when Andy comes to help her soon after their companions appear and bring them to safety. Back at the catastrophe, a birthday party is held to Hyobu, who hides from them with the results of the exam he made, which indicate that he doesn't have much time left. As Andy reminisces about when he was recruited by the US government, he's informed by his superiors that the time's come for him to finish his assignment. Hyobu informs the others that their next mission is to steal a new ECM device developed in the United States. Andy then relays the info about the mission to Barbell, who agreed to set a trap for Pandora, although they decide to not take the children with them this time despite Kaoru's protests. With Hyobu and the others concerned by Minamoto's team, Andy takes the opportunity to return to the catastrophe and accomplish his own mission, which is to extract the ship's main defense system Ihachigo. Hyobu follows soon after, but is halted by Kaoru, who's just learned about a precognition regarding an impending destruction of the catastrophe. With his body showing signs of fatigue, Kyobu goes full force against Kaoru, knocking her unconscious, and finds Andy as he reaches Ihachigo's chambers, revealing to Andy that he always knew he was a spy. Yobo claims that he now has no option but to kill him. Several decades ago, a young Kyogre who'd recently lost his father moved to live with Fujiko and her father in Japan. Sometimes later, both Fujiko and Hyobu are asked by Captain Ag to join a new ESPA special unit created under the Japanese army. Fujiko declines despite Aegis claims that the unit's purpose isn't to help with Japan's invasion of other nations but to help with the country's defense, in spite of a similar initiative in development by the Third Reich. While Hyobu was instructed by his late father to refrain from using his powers to avoid being used as a living weapon. However, sometime later both Hyobu and Fujiko accept the offer and join the army. Some months later, Yobu and Fujiko get themselves involved in an incident with a naval officer, and the army discuss the possibility of having the ESPA unit disbanded, but AEG proposes a bet instead, with the incident being forgotten should they manage to defeat in combat the Japanese Navy's recently completed state-of-the-art fighter aircraft. The Zero AEG chooses Yobu to represent the ESP unit in the duel with the Navy fighter for the words of his father that he should refrain from using his powers keep haunting him as he trains for the upcoming match. In the day of the duel, it's revealed that the pilot representing the Navy is the same one involved in the incident. Yobu finds himself in a pinch against the enemy until he finally manages to overcome his fear and wins the duel by a direct paint shot in the cockpit. Soon after, a U.S. submarine is seen pursuing three dolphins who contact Yobu and the others through ESP asking for their help. Just before one of the dolphins is killed by a torpedo with the Navy fighters' help, the ESP unit managed to save the other two and shake off the pursuers. However, the dolphins warned Hyobu about an ominous fate awaiting him and his companions years later, just after the atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Aegean informs Hyobu that Japan is about to surrender and most of the ESP unit is dead. However, by using the brain of Ihachigo, one of the dolphins, AEG has a precognition that Hyobu will bring destruction to the world in the future and decides to dispose of him. AG fires thrice on him, one bullet to the head, but Hyobu manages to survive and strikes back, apparently killing him, and leaves swearing vengeance on the normals who betrayed him and his friends. Back to the present now, Andy uses his powers to deactivate Ihachigo's cloaking system, exposing the catastrophe to an attack by the US military. While confronting Margie and the others, Minamoto learns about the situation and reveals that Barbell's True intention was to apprehend Pandra to prevent the attack and allows them to leave and help Yobu and the others, with Yobu busy confronting dozens of combat drones sent by the US Army. The task force invades the ship and captures Yuji, and he tries to stop them from taking her away, but his superior shoots him instead and leaves with both Yuji and Ihachigo in his possession, and he awakens soon after to find he's unscathed as his limit to stop the bullet. Meanwhile, Yobu feels his body failing and unlocks his powers to destroy the invading fleet in one fell swoop before losing consciousness, but the catastrophe ends up taking one last shot before it sunk, with everyone aboard having already evacuated the ship except for Hyobu and Andy. Andy saves Kobol from drowning and the two are rescued by Barbel. Fujiko and Sakaki take Kibyu to the Tsubomi estate to treat him, while Oboro has the transmitted chip from the U.S extracted from Andy's body and destroyed with the children's help by Gauro's request. Shiho restrains Oboro and lends Yobo's location from her. Andy convinces the girls to take him with them, and upon arriving at the mansion, Yobu asks him about the man who contacted them aboard the catastrophe, confirming his suspicions that said man is none other than AJ himself, who is somehow still alive. Meanwhile, Sakaki reveals to the girls that Hyobu is dying, and to save his life Gaoru offers herself for a blood transfusion. Now in possession of both Yuji and Ihachigo, AEG plans to use both to avert the Esper revolution led by Gaoru and Hyobu, set to occur in the near future. Sometime later, despite still not fully recovered, Yobu leaves by himself despite Gaoru's pleas and accepts Andy's offer to accompany him. The two then depart to confront AG and rescue Yuji. Upon arriving at home, Andy's former contact in the USI is held in custody by him with Hyobu's help and is forced to take them to the facility where Yujiri is being held. However, the agent manages to warn his companions about them in secret, and the two arrive there just to find that Yuji isn't there anymore. And after a brief conversation with Igi, who reveals to them his intention to use there to kill Gaoru, the two find themselves in an ambush. Andy and Hyobu fight to escape until they're cornered by the enemy, just to be rescued in time by Maggie and the others. Once again reunited, the members of Pandra set to New York as Hobo realizes that Aegis' next target is Norman Green, the newly elected mayor, who's a supporter of ESPA protection policies, somehow put under some kind of trance. Yuji defeats Maggie, Momiji and Yo before she comes across Andy. Andy follows Yuji to the site of Green's inauguration but is restrained by the police, just to be rescued by Minamoto and Sagaki, who revealed to him that they're working with Liberty Bell to stop Aegis' conspiracy to have the new mayor assassinated by an Esper and alter the future. Yuji attacks Green just to be stopped by Andy, and she launches a hypnotic trance that afflicts everyone in the area except Andy and his allies, starting a riot. As the riot spreads throughout the city, Yobu confronts Yuji to free her mind, but her hypnosis makes him confront delusions of his own past until he unlocks his powers, knowing that with his body's condition this may end up killing him. Kibyu succeeds to rescue Yuji, but his powers go haywire and he asks Andy to take her away before they destroy him. However, Andy refuses to flee and uses his ability to restrain Hyobu's powers and save his life. As the members of Barbel return home and are greeted by Kaoru and the others, Hyobu finally comes face to face with Ig, with the rest of his cohorts already in custody. AJ asks Skabol to kill him, but he refuses to do so and decides to punish him by erasing all his memories. Instead, Andy decides to find his own way in life, bids farewell to Yuji and the others from Pandra, leaving to parts unknown after having a short meeting with Yobu. So this is it for today's video. If you like the video, give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Farewell till next time.